So this is one of my gardens that we fortified, that's not the right word, we nourished with horse manure compost. And so what we're getting from this garden is hundreds and probably thousands by the end of the year. Mushrooms. That's the size they are. Look at, that's a small mushroom. Yeah, mushrooms. I picked this garden last night of mushrooms, and this is what has popped up. Now, this may look like an out of control garden, but actually a lot of this greenery is edible. And before I pull what would be considered bad weeds, I have to make sure that I'm taking out the edibles first. Look at that. Look at the size of that. This popped up. It's beautiful. I'm going to check these mushrooms, pull as many as I can, and I have to make sure they don't have bugs planted in them, eggs. Okay, that's all new pop-up. That's new. Again, look at the size of these all popping up. Look at down the laneway. Mushrooms. You get a mushroom. Everyone gets a mushroom. Look at this. This is insane. This was supposed to be turnips. There's no turnips coming up, but mushrooms. So, we did get mushrooms last year, but nothing like this. Not anywhere near this number. But I was too afraid to pick them last year and eat because I was unsure they might have bugs in them. This spring, before the flies came out, we were able to enjoy mounds and mounds and mounds of mushrooms. Mushrooms in the omelets everywhere. Now, take a look at this. Look at that, the size of that. So obviously I never picked this one. Look at, that's my hand. I can't even reach the end of it. So some of these I'll leave for the ground squirrels. And the 13 lined gophers, they managed to get in here. There you can see one's munching. See, that's from the squirrels tasting them. That one I'll cut. I'll cut and see if that one is edible for us. At this stage, because the flies are now out, I fry or dehydrate the mushrooms. We're not eating them raw. I don't trust it yet. I'm just a little paranoid about putting insects into my body. It's like Klaus Schwab said. You will own nothing and you will enjoy it. You will eat the bugs. I don't know if he said we'll eat the bugs, but I think he did. Look at these. It's just everywhere. Every place they pop up. Let me see where else. They are just so fascinating. Oh yes, and these are my beautiful, beautiful potatoes. So these are my russets. All these potatoes are from the ones we grew last year. Some we purchased as starter, like these russets we did from a starter batch from the store. But other ones I'll show you we got from my fabulous neighbors who've since sold their place and moved to town. But if I have a bumper crop, I'm going to take them in some as a gift. There, they're starting to come into flower already. See, popping up underneath, they're protected, well protected. Now I'm going to show you what happens if you don't pick a mushroom. Just leave it. I didn't know about this one, I might have picked it. Anyways, this one has been a home to, I think I just saw an ant pop out of there. And there's larvae in here, which are probably flies, perhaps other ones as well. But yeah, look at, you can see the ants roaming around in there. So everything serves as food protection. Yeah, there's a worm underneath, a larva. It just went into the black part. I call them gills. I'm not sure what those are of the mushroom. But anyways, this is food. Yeah, there went in again, or another one went in. There they see it underneath. See the ants on top? And the larva underneath. I do not believe they are ant larvae. I think they're worms. I think they're aphid larvae. Anyways, they provide food and shelter for the insects that in turn either provide food substance for larger creatures or something. We tend to let them live unless they're in my house. Flies in my house are killed. There's another one got munched on by the ground squirrels, and of course I leave those. I let them eat and enjoy. And you can see here too, they were eating on the outside, plus the bugs have been eating them. And then underneath, see, there's a fresh one growing under there, so that one might be edible for us. And there's the ground squirrels. Food there. Mosquitoes are starting to come out. Here we go. See, this one just popped out, so chances are it's not going to have, I have a better chance of it not having insect eggs on it. But I do have to check for ants. They tend to crawl on them a lot. These are, I believe, I have to check my chart. So those are my russets. And I think I did one more row of russets. And then these, I believe, are my red chieftains. I do believe, which I got from our wonderful neighbors. And then 2 or 3 of these rows. I don't know the name of the potato, but it is absolutely delicious. And the flesh is yellow, and the outside skin has little dots on it, which some people will think it has a disease, but it isn't. It's part of. But once I get them this summer, I'm going to post them, and maybe somebody on the internet can tell me the name of them. And here's some more, nice and firm. I'm going to see if I can salvage these for us. It's just, I mean, this absolutely amazes me. The growth of these, I hardly even have to weed these. I held them a little bit earlier. We picked a few of the weeds off. Now everything's growing like insanity. So this last row are violet potatoes. Violet Queen, I think they're called. And I bought those PV marks because we like potatoes. And this little guy is one I grew from a seed, an actual seed of a potato. Potatoes can produce seeds. And these from here, this one. So they're kind of, these guys took over after I planted them. But anyways, yeah, that's from a seed, so I'll find out kind of a seed. But you can see this leaf is different. It's more variegated than this one. See the difference? Easy to see here. Well, those are 2 different types of potatoes, I think. Because these are also in my other garden where I mixed. Some were red chieftains and some were this one with yellow flush potatoes. So we'll find out. Some of those will be that. Trying to think of what else. Yeah, I think that's only how many we did for potatoes. 1, 2, 3. So, and in here somewhere, I do have some radishes. And those are my scarlet runners, which I have to get a fence up for. They're going to be wanting to grow up tall and viney. And then this thing, I have to look up what it is. I didn't pull them out yet because if the horses eat them, I'll cut the leaves and feed them to the horses. But yeah, that was not there last night. That's all brand new, hiding under the soil last night. I wasn't able to pick mushrooms this morning, so I'm out here this evening. Okay, now I'm in my south garden. These were the very first potatoes that I planted, this row. They're mostly going to be red chieftains. And that as well. Look at this, they've already opened up the flowers. Already, look at that. Oh my God, I get so excited. I can't even explain how wonderful it feels to be growing our own food. And these are grown from potatoes we grew last year. So it's a wonderful feeling to be, we're not fully self-sufficient, but we are more self-sufficient than we were in the past. And I'll tell you, potatoes you grow yourself are much better tasting than the ones they fly or bring in from places like California. So again, I think these might be my yellow fleshed potatoes, and this might be a red chieftain, or vice versa, because I kind of wasn't specific when I planted them. I just figured I would notice in the fall when we harvest. They'll each go in a separate bin. So anyways, mushrooms are out of control. Those were there yesterday. I left them for the squirrels and the ants. This one popped up new on its own. Let's see what else. These ones are all new. That popped up new. Look at that. This is my walkway. I'm just popping up new. Crazy. Oh, potatoes. See here? We've got mushrooms, and they are protected. Well protected. Oh, there's an ant. I wonder if there's a mushroom coming up there. In the ground. Yeah, there we go. There's one. Hasn't popped out yet. You get to be able to tell when it starts to look like an eruption of soil. You can tell it's probably got a mushroom. There we go, mushroom. There we go. They're not as big though. Now the thistle, I pull it out and feed it to the horses because they love it. But thistle's also very healthy for us humans. I just haven't gotten to the point yet of preparing them. More mushrooms. And it's almost any place you look inside, there will be mushrooms growing in there too. Nature abhors a vacuum and empty soil. So if you pull weeds, something else will grow more weeds, and most of the time they're not even weeds. We call them weeds, but they are actually very wonderful edible plants in here. If I'm correct, that's called a lamb's quarter, and it's edible. I've done my research, so that's why I'm not pulling these right now, because those are supposed to be food. Yep, there's another mushroom just popped up. Look at that. And if they are edible, then we will be eating them. So again, you can see this one is different than this one. That and that. So, oh, look at those beautiful flowers. So chances are those flowers will turn into potato balls, which will contain hundreds of potato seeds, which I've already proven grow into a potato plant. So I am quite excited about that. And it's not even a big deal. If these are weeds and not edible, it's not even a big deal that they're still here because they help keep the soil. They hold the moisture longer. People will say, oh, the weeds will suck all your moisture out. Actually, they're going to help keep the moisture because they're covering the ground and the sun is unable to suck it back up into the sky. So, and as you can see, I have a tree growing. I'm going to transplant that someplace. Just haven't done it yet. Now, here's my onions. Again, there's dandelions in here. Dandelion leaves are edible and good for you. There's a mushroom I'm going to pull. I don't have purslane in this garden, but I have tons of purslane in the west garden. Look at my onions. It's the first year I've had good onions growing. These are red onions. They're actually purple onions, but we call them red onions. I don't know why. And my poor little pathetic carrots. Because the mushrooms kept growing early this spring, they would pop up. And because I was also digging for them, we ended up displacing the mushrooms. And I displaced the rows of radishes and the rows of carrots and several other things. So, and this one got taken over. It's supposed to be spinach and lettuce. And I've tried to replant and I still don't have lettuce coming. And here, right in the middle of the walkway, I've got mushrooms. Mushrooms, little baby mushrooms. Look at this, just a little baby. Mushrooms, mushrooms, mushrooms. So thistle for the horses, alfalfa for the horses. Lamb's quarters, if that's lamb's quarters. For us humans, another mushroom that just came up. You can see here, I picked those yesterday. And of course the other mushrooms keep popping up. So go around the corner. Lots of alfalfa. Got grass coming up to a head. Look at the dandelions are just out of control growing. And again, that's all, if I hadn't trampled these, it's all wonderful edible food. Look at that. It's just like there's probably what, $2 worth of mushrooms. And there's a mushroom. There's a mushroom. See, underneath my squash and my zucchini are more mushrooms coming up. They seem to grow together. This one I'll pull because I think it is nothing but a weed. Again, I could be pulling edible food. This is a malva and it's edible for us. So again, I'm going to experiment and I'm going to let everyone know if it is edible and what it tastes like. More mushrooms, more mushrooms. And then this row is taken over with grass, but it's supposed to be sunflowers and bird seed plants for the birds and squirrels. So I just transplanted these two because the squirrels planted them in the other part of the garden and didn't eat them. So I transplanted them. Hopefully they'll live. So we got new mushrooms growing here, old mushroom here. So this one's now soggy, soft, break it. There is probably, it looks moldy actually. I can't break it, it's too leathery. So, but there's probably insects living in there. There's another mushroom. My hope is that that's the middle one I transplanted that the squirrels planted. There's another mushroom. Mushrooms, mushrooms. Now, take a look at this. So, see how the leaves have been cut out? And cut out rather than them eating a hole in the middle. I think those are from those cutter bees, I think it said. I saw a video about it. So, of course, we're organic here. We do not put any of that Monsanto poison on our property. Never have, never will. My dad was an organic farmer before it was popular to be one. Just look at these mushrooms. Oh my God, he would just be so thrilled to see all this growing from the ground if he was alive. Look at all that. Mushrooms, this whole thing is mushrooms. We didn't plant any of these. These spores have all been volunteer from our compost manure. Now, these two I planted. So thankfully something came up. Squirrels were eating them on me, but I still have to plant more. I want this to be a big, beautiful field of sunflowers for them to eat. Anyways, it's the start of my garden. Look at all these. Oh, I'm so thrilled to see them. Zucchini and squash and red curry and patty pans. I did plant cucumbers, but I don't think they're coming up because that row that they were in is completely empty. So if they're not, I'm gonna have to plant some more and try them. So yeah, anyways, thank you for coming on my walk with me. This is probably my first filming of the year of my garden. It was cold and miserable spring, so it was depressing until now. So here we go again. More mushrooms. This bar is where Bruce does all of the watering for me. You can see a bar, and he puts the sprinkler in there. So he invented these himself. Awesome. He made these long wide walkways for me because I fall down a lot with my scleroderma disease, autoimmune disease. So it's making my life easier and helping me be happy by having my garden. See, bunch in there growing. Look at, okay, there's an example. I forgot those were there and I stepped on them, so they pop off and break. And here's another big, huge one that is soggy on the end, but still probably food for a whole bunch of insects. Oh, spiders too. I cut one yesterday and it had a spider living in it, so I put it back for the spider. It wasn't fair to take his home, but I felt bad that I cut it. Yeah, so you can see here, if I cut them and then can see that there's already bugs in them, I will put them back and then let them continue to feed from them. And then this will also provide as compost. Did I show this one? See that little baby one growing in there? Yep, that's it for now. I'm going to get my knife. I'm going to come cut a bunch of them off, clean them. And anything that doesn't have any larvae started, you can tell from the holes. It's an easy method to tell in mushrooms if they've got larvae or eggs. And put them in the dehydrator.